Hello everybody, welcome to Oscar Rusty Butkus. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already and drop a like on this video. It only takes 1 second and makes a massive difference in how the video performs in the YouTube algorithm. Chris Paul was just not released by the Phoenix Suns, but seems like they're going in that direction. The initial report, I think by Chris Haynes, was incorrect. It was not that the Suns have released Chris Paul, but rather that his future in Phoenix is pretty much over. Whether it's a trade, sign and trade, whatever it may be, Chris Paul is probably going somewhere that's not Phoenix. Like 95% sure that's what's going to happen. Interestingly, this news, however, broke while I was live recording the Shoot Around, which is a podcast that I hope with another NBA YouTuber who's excellent named Alex Hoops, as well as the editor of both of my channels and channel manager, Rudy St. Clair. I think this podcast is great, and I'm not just saying that because I'm in it. Frankly, I've been in podcasts for a long time. For the last few years where I was like, this is a mid-ass podcast. But I think this podcast that we're doing now is excellent. Like, I think we have found the formula to a good basketball podcast. So, because this news broke as we were recording the podcast, I figured there's no better way to showcase to you guys what I thought, as well as getting some other people's perspectives in there. So, this video is going to be a clip of that podcast, and I understand if you're apprehensive to that, but trust me, you're getting the same analysis and thought process that I would put in this video from that reaction from me, as well as great insights from Alex Hoops, and Rudy was also there. I don't know why I'm taking a dig at Rudy. That's not fair, but yeah. Anyways, without further ado, here's the clip. Go check out the podcast, link in the description, all that, and see ya. What's so crazy? What's your face about?
Okay, so breaking news.
Yeah, I saw it while I was in the bathroom.
Yeah, I figured you'd see it while you're on the can.
What?
Phoenix has notified star Chris Paul that he will be waived, marking the future Hall of Famer one of the top free agents this offseason. League sources tell NBA on TNT and Bleacher Report, according to Chris Haynes. Chris Paul's getting cut.
I gotta record a video about this immediately after this podcast.
Oh man, that means I have work.
Yeah, sure does.
I just want to know why.
Money, I guess.
I mean, yeah, but they can't. That cap is dead
Right,
now.
it's dead now. Yeah. Was
Okay.
it fully guaranteed? Like, what is it? This is a 2-minute old tweet.
It isn't
so.
fully guaranteed. That's
It's
why.
not?
It's because it's not fully guaranteed.
That's the only way it makes sense, right?
Oh.
Yeah, I think it was
Let's look at his
14.
contract.
I think it was 14 mil guaranteed this year, so they only have to worry about that on their cap.
In
Okay.
that case, that was a good move.
Yeah, because I think
That was
trading him
smart.
wasn't even gonna happen unless it was for a team that was also going to waive him.
So for 2023,
That's smart.
2024,
That's smart GM, dude.
let's see.
God, he was awful in the playoffs. And he's going to be like 39 next year. God, that's sad, man. That's sad.
Here's the thing, though. They don't really have very much like cap space to work with regardless, though, because like
Dude,
even with
feel like Chris
with
Paul's
Chris
gonna go to the
Paul's
Lakers.
contract on the with Chris Paul's contract on the books, there's still $73 million over the cap and $3.5 million over the luxury tax. So this really, if nothing else, just takes them out of the penalty. Like they're gonna have to not pay out the nose for Chris Paul, and now instead only have to pay $12 million or whatever.
Unless they trade Ayton. If they trade Ayton, they're gonna clear a lot of cap doing that. Yeah, no, this opens up their free agency, in my opinion. I think it becomes a lot easier for them to clear cap now.
Yeah.
And maneuver within the realms of
I feel as
required to
though
abide
there
by.
is a decent possibility, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Bulls fan, that a Vooch sign and trade for Ayton could happen.
What?
picks. Do you think it would be like a picks
Maybe
involved
like a
situation?
couple of seconds. I don't think they'd get a first, frankly. I feel like his value is pretty bad.
No,
I mean,
I'm saying
he's on
what
a
would the
max.
Bulls? I'm saying what would the Bulls have to give up? Do you think Vooch in just like a couple seconds? Do you think?
Yeah, maybe like throw Kobe White in there, but I don't know if they'd want him for the money reasons.
Do you want
But-
Landry Shamet and Campaign while you're at it, so they could really open up their books? Because those guys take up about $17 million of their cap
I'll take
space.
Landry Shamet. I will burn down the city of Chicago if Cameron Payne is in that jersey again.
This is pretty
He
exciting.
will go right
That's good
back to
NBA
being one of the
news.
worst players in the league. Yeah, that's crazy. But I definitely feel like Lakers. Like that seems kind of obvious to me.
Yeah, because it sounds like they're out on the whole Kyrie Irving thing. I think that's kind of just like no one's paying attention to that. But Chris Paul kind of becomes the next logical step to me.
Maybe I'll get
Someone just
my
changes the thumbnail to
dream.
this.
If the Bulls do run it back, is that a crazy pick for Chris? If he's like not like ring chasing and he's just like, I want to go somewhere where I can like be on a playoff team but also play 30 minutes.
I don't hate that.
I feel like
Here's
it
the
makes
thing: his
sense 'cause
season
of-
wasn't good, but like from just like if you look at the body of the season,
he's
Chris
still
Paul,
a solid point guard.
yes, yeah, he was, fine. He probably had his responsibilities were probably more than what you'd want a 38, 39-year-old Chris Paul doing
Yeah.
at this point in his career.
Yeah.
But I think on
It's
the
similar
Bulls,
to what
his
they
role
did with
probably
Steve
becomes a
Nash.
lot more diminished. Yeah.
It's similar to what they did with Steve Nash, because Steve Nash was like an all-star at 37. Because like, you let this poor man not have to carry this organization anymore. It's 2012, Jesus.
I say thumbs down to Chris Paul and the Timberwolves because I feel like development wise, I don't love Chris Paul kind of being the guy there. Not that he would
What
like be the
about-
guy, but like Mike Conley kind of does,
Mike
he's
Conley's
not Chris
probably better
Paul,
than
but he
Chris.
does, well, yeah, he kind of does what Chris Paul
I feel like he's
does.
better than Chris.
He's kind of
like,
Chris
right now.
Paul.
He's kind of better than Chris Paul right
Mike
now.
Conley, low key, just Chris Paul.
Because I feel like the problem with Chris
At this point in their
especially this
career.
year- I feel like the problem, especially with Chris, was his three ball became so unreliable. Like super low volume, and I think his percentage improved as the year went along. But I know he started off the year shooting like shit, and he was a complete non-factor from outside in that in any of the playoff games that he played. Not that it was a lot, but like that's the difference. Mike Conley's still a sniper and still solid enough at playmaking and solid enough at creating. And it's also worthy of mention, Chris Paul's defense is kind of cooked. Like, I don't see him play great defense really ever anymore. Usually he's just okay, or like maybe every once in a while he gets in a passing lane that's kind of impressive, but that's about it.
Yeah. Plus, Mike Conley seems pretty integral to like the whole culture of Minnesota at this point.
Yeah.
And him and Rudy Gobert had really, 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 really good,
Really
pick and roll
good chemistry.
But
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
Mike Conley-
Minnesota. Go ahead.
Mike Conley shot 5, almost 6 attempts per game with Minnesota from 3. He hit him at 42%. So it's
Yeah,
like that's
Chris
pretty
ain't
damn
doing
good.
that.
No, Chris isn't even
Uh,
making 2 a game at this point in his career.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's not great. And
Chris
he also doesn't
Paul,
get like the
what
lift on his
happened?
mid-range as much. I don't know if his percentage has necessarily dipped that much, but I'm like
I can tell you.
less scared of a pick and roll Chris Paul mid-range fadeaway than I used to be. That seems pretty fair. Maybe I'm
He
wrong.
was still pretty good this year, but the volume is dwindling
lowest of
from
his
his
career.
I think it actually is. It's the lowest of his career, 100%. So
Yeah. So Chris Paul from mid-range don't scare me. Chris Paul from 3 don't scare me that much. He's
And
obviously
then he's
never
6
been
foot tall.
He's never been some big time finisher, but he can play make. He can hopefully play solid defense and occasionally create off the dribble. I think he can be like a pretty great backup and like a solid, not going to be a huge problem for you starter. But
It
not
sounds
a
to me
great
like Tyus Jones is better than Chris Paul.
if Tyus Jones is
I
better than Chris Paul
mean,
next season, I would not be surprised at all. I don't know if I'm ready to say it yet, but like 39-year-old Chris Paul could be worse than like 29-year-old Tyus Jones.
I like Mario Hernandez's question.
a good band name.
Yeah, good. Is CP3 really an upgrade from D'Lo from Mario
Yes.
Hernandez? Yeah,
He'll be significant. I guess no. I guess he won't be significantly cheaper than D'Lo because D'Lo's also about to be a broke boy.
yeah,
He's only going to make $7 million a year. That's broke.
he wouldn't be cheaper, but he would be better.
I feel like
think-
he won't like shoot you out of a game one way or the other. Like, that's
Just
not
from
really
a like
something
a
Chris would do.
vacuum decision making perspective, I think CP3 is a less volatile option for your team.
Mhm.
More reliable, which is weird to say because like one of the things we were saying about Chris Paul is he's not as reliable as he used to be.
Plus, I expect him to have good chemistry with LeBron. knows
Right.
how to run a pick and roll, and he's got AD. Knows how to throw an alley oop, and he's got AD.
Or he'll join Dwight in Taiwan.
That would be sick.
I would actually watch that.
Oh yeah.
But no, I think Dwight's disrespected all the time. I think Chris Paul is disrespected all the time. The fact that there was a poll on Twitter with like 50,000 votes that said Chris Paul or Rondo, who's better, and it was damn near 50-50. That's a fucking joke.
Yeah.
That's a fucking joke.
I agree.
I think Hoops Venue had a great point where he said that Chris Paul, I messed it up in my head. Like Rondo is comparable to Chris Paul, like Carmelo Anthony is comparable to LeBron James.
Yeah.
Like, no, he's
Well,
not.
but
He's not. But people are fans of the other one, so they pretend like they're in the same conversation. It's no.
Rondo gets looked at through some very, 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 very rose-colored glasses.
Do I officially have to make a Rondo video because I'm the only reason I haven't made I think Rondo is overrated as shit video is because I'm like I already did the John Stockton is overrated as shit video. We get the
hate
point.
point guards.
I
Stop
hate
passing so
playmakers.
much.
I hate playmakers that themselves are zero scoring threats.
So what are our top
Rondo overrated?
5 Chris Paul destinations for this offseason? Right here on the spot. Let's do it. Lakers are probably they're up there. No order. Let's just name 5.
Lakers
gotta be one.
Clippers. I am gonna throw the Bulls in
Clippers would
there
be
as just
cool.
like a
The
complete
Knicks?
wild card.
Oh, it'd be so Nixian.
It would be a very
And
Knicks
that
thing
would-
to do. They brought in a 38-year-old Jason Kidd and it went all right.
That's true. That's true.
I don't love it, but I also don't hate a Jalen Brunson, Chris Paul backcourt.
You don't think?
Okay, I
getting Chris
kinda
Paul
hate it.
touches
I
takes
kinda
away from
hate
Jalen
it,
Brunson.
That's like
I could
The
see them
smallest-
like playing like 10 minutes a game together and then just taking each other's place on the court otherwise.
yeah.
And,
They
like,
start
Chris
the
plays
first half of the
22
first quarter
minutes.
together, and then they just
Yeah, like Chris plays 22 minutes and he plays the 12 minutes that Jalen Brunson doesn't play.
This Chris Paul gets 10 minutes by himself to just run around.
Yeah. So that I think that makes sense. Knicks, Bulls, Lakers, Clippers.
Dallas in the chat.
Nah.
Chris Paul, literally Rondo after 2012, goes to Dallas.
Yeah, I feel like Kyrie's going back to Dallas. Maybe that's a crazy.
He was
take
trying
here.
to recruit LeBron.
Yeah, like he's trying to recruit
Twitter.
people there. That's why I was like, so many people were like, "Oh, he's definitely
This
leaving."
guy,
I was like,
look,
"Why
guys,
do you
I just
feel-"
found out that there's no income tax in Texas.
LeBron, you're losing like $10 million a year on fucking taxes.
Just you didn't have to make that movie. You could have just lived in Texas.
I would pull some bullshit like I live in Texas, but I play for the Lakers, so I just fly in for every game because I can.
Ugh, that just sounds miserable.
Tax
Even if you are
efficient
flying on
buckets.
like a private jet.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably a decently fast flight. Depends on where you are in Texas.
Yeah.
Anywho,
So both LA teams. Why'd you say the Clippers? I mean, obviously, like John Wall didn't work out, but like he really.
yeah,
think
they
he's gonna
kind of still
return
need
just like
that point guard. I think they're going to go hard for Fred VanVleet, but
Who's apparently better than Chris Paul. It's crazy.
Chris Paul's a way
Definitely.
better offensive facilitator than John Wall, especially at this point in their career.
I do feel like Chris Paul could just be a backup point guard somewhere, but it really depends on where do we think Chris's ego is.
Yeah.
Because like if he's on the Knicks, he's a backup. I think in Chicago he would start. I think there's a chance he would come off the bench for the Clippers or Lakers. It depends on what they do.
He's probably not an upgrade for Miami over Kyle Lowry. Griffin Gaming. He's a regular in the chat. saying
He's
Miami.
probably an
not.
upgrade, but like it's kind of weird to have both of them.
It
and
seems
kind
really
of-
lateral to me rather than an upgrade.
Yeah, it would be like some things would be better, but
and like
you
you're
lose
not
out on
getting
some
off
other
of Kyle
things.
Lowry's contract.
Yeah.
So like either way you're dealing with that, you might as well just deal with it with one player and not two.
I feel like there's a chance Chris Paul goes full like ring chasing mode and just tries to go to the team that he thinks he has the best shot to win on.
Backup point
put
guard
him
on
on
the
with the
Warriors.
Or backup point guard in Denver.
Ooh. Ooh,
I actually
That's
kind of
fine.
like that.
yeah, that
I
Chris
actually
Paul and
kinda
Jokic
like
would be
that.
pretty cool.
I actually kind of like that. I know.
Plus, like,
Asher's
dare I
probably
say
screaming at the
that
screen now.
Playing next to Jokic would really elevate Chris Paul's offensive potential at this stage in his career.
Yeah,
Like, sort of
probably.
a lot of his problems get solved by just getting to run around off ball and know that he'll be found when he's open or cutting to the basket. And
That's
yada,
not a
yada,
bad
you know?
point. That's not a bad point. It might be a great chance to win a championship and genuinely probably the best basketball he can play.
And it's a position of need, more or less, you know? We
Yeah,
were
they
just
don't
talking
really
about how
have
they need
any.
more guys who can
Yes,
dribble the
they don't
fucking
have guys who
basketball.
can put the ball on the floor really outside
This
of.
podcast has come really full circle,
Yeah.
guys. I think they waived Chris Paul right now for us.
We go on this
He's
whole
the gift that
tangent
keeps on
about
giving,
this
baby.
hole that Denver has, and then the universe was like, we have the solution.